Alright, getting the video going. Live your dream. Choose the actions every day that move you closer to your dream, to unveil your dream life. You know what? I firmly believe in guardian angels and higher powers and God and different types of things like that. Just a minute ago I was doing a video and I took it somewhere, and then the video shut off abruptly. Right when I said what I was saying, it shut off. I was about a minute and a half into it, and then it dawned on me. It's like, wait a minute. It's like there's certain things about love or true love or whatever you just cannot just throw out there to anybody and everywhere. You got to prep. And this is what just came to me just a second ago. It actually started coming to me last night when I was going through some notes, and then even the day before. But it's like the fact that you got to assess who's to receive what you're talking about, prep their mind, make sure that they can prep it also, and then once you see what way they're listening in, because there's several ways of listening, depending on which way they're listening in. And then once that's figured out, I think there's got to be a thing to figure out if they're listening through an integrated trauma or an unknown trauma. Because in our society we think trauma, psychological trauma, emotional trauma, something years ago. We think, it's something that's obvious. No, there's some traumas that don't block you and hinder you. It'll block you and hinder you in these other ways. But like one thing, if you look at the survivor type roles, traumas, childhood traumas, see, traumas can come about just by certain kind of environments. But like the high achiever type mentality in the childhood, that once that fully manifests, that kind of trauma gets resolved. And a lot of it's still from to be somewhere in between abandonment issues and a CPTSD of certain variations. And when that manifests throughout a person's life, they will be a high achiever, real high achiever, always trying to be absolutely number one, because it's been driven by this underlying fear that if they're not the best at everything in anything they do, then no sirve. Anyways, 3 minutes. Damn, I'm running kind of late. I'm gonna have to haul ass. All right, 3 minutes to save the world. All right, Spirit of the universe, what do you got for us? Spirit of the universe, what do we need to hear, right now? What do you want to be? What do you wish to be? And how do you want to be shaped? What do we need to hear? What do we need to hear? Not what we want to hear, but what do we need to hear? What do we need? Not what we think we need, but what do we need right here in this moment, in this video, right here, right now. Back in the early 1900s, this guy, he was an author. Wells was his name. He wrote some books, and I think he wrote one of them. It's pertaining to a world mind, a oneness. And and apparently, as the history goes, he was pretty zealous about the thing, and he had a lot of faith that he thought if you just get the information out to the people, then it'll work. Well, that's part of it, yes. But you know, back then, they didn't have the technology. They didn't have the technology to work out the bugs. They didn't have the technology to do the analysis. They didn't have the technology to crunch the data. They didn't have the technology to read people. They didn't have the technology to read traumas and underlying surface traumas. They didn't have that technology. They didn't have the people to read those social structures. They didn't have the people to assess where and when and why and how those came about. They didn't have all that. We have that now. We have that now. How are you using your AI? What are you using it for? You know, this age of AI, 17 seconds, this age of AI, there's so many things that pop up where these people get these great ideas. It's like, this is this. And then they start making millions on it, and then bam, somebody comes along and it's like, oh, we'd do all that, we'd do that shit for free. Matter of fact, we'll just hand that out for free, and our stuff does that plus all this other stuff. Now what you gonna do? Bam, bam. All right, that's 3 minutes. Dang, 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 cutting it close, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. This is an example of, if you don't like rushing around, then don't do stuff like this. All right, life is not all gloom and doom. See you in the funny papers.